Okay, guys, it's time for questions. So open up. If you have any questions, don't worry that it is a dumb question or a great question. So I always say the questions, any question is a great question. Nobody has the questions? Either it is like, I always tell people, like, if you don't have a questions, which means you have completely understood, or it is okay that you got some concepts. Okay, so somebody asked a question. If we are using a medical record system in blockchain,
Sir,
frequently we
excuse me,
need to
sir.
update the patient information, then what is the immutability? Okay, great. So when I say the immutability, so that doesn't mean that you cannot go and update it. Once you update your data, nobody can go and tamper it without having the auditability. So that is important. So that is called immutability. It's not like once I just write it down and nobody can tamper it. So I should have a record mechanism. Maybe very simple. Today I went to the hospital and maybe my vitals says that my BP is so and so, my temperature is maybe 1 or 3 degrees today, and then if you go to the next time and again your temperature is changed from 1 or 3 to maybe 100 because the fever came down, so you are storing this information. So you will have this information about the patient under the date of visit. So let us say today when you had visited, your temperature says to 100. So nobody should be able to go and tamper that data. So that's where we call it as immutability, right? And you can go on update, like the previous record says 103, now it says 100 degrees temperature. So there is a change. So you can clearly have that traceability saying that, okay, so this is how the patient health condition has been. And you can trust the data because you are actually, nobody can tamper that information. That's how it is. So don't think that we cannot go and update it. That record point in time, we cannot update it. You can add certain things on top of it. Okay. So there's next question on how mining is done. Okay. So the mining is actually, that's where the one of the article. I not spend much time on the previous one, thinking that that will be covered in other sessions. Right. I saw when I saw the agenda for the rest of the days, the previous days, I saw there is a sessions on the blockchain. So I not spend much time on how the mining has to be performed, right? Or the miners. So take the example when you do a transaction, your SBI bank or your Citibank or Axis Bank or whatever the bank, they enable your overall what do you call the platform to go and do or interface with the banking system and do the transactions. But whereas in the decentralized world, we don't have any centralized guy to provide a platform for you to initiate the transaction, right? So you are as a user, you initiate the transaction, but there should be someone who has to go and validate the transaction. So that is nothing but the miner. So the miners are the set of nodes who actually validates your transactions. So for example, if you look at from the ETH, go to, there is a ETH, that's dot, oh, sorry. So this is the same thing applicable for both Ethereum, Bitcoin, or even you can look at from the private networks, right? So if you look at this ETH stats, I hope I'm still sharing the screen. If you look at the ETH stats, so these are the nothing but your various ETH nodes which are right now running, and they are responsibility to get the transaction and mine the transaction and submit the block to the network, right? So if you look at this guy is so you look at, see, this guy is still syncing, which means he cannot do any transactions unless he really syncs with the network. But if you look at the other guys, so this guy pretty much is the peer and is right now is mining, no, and this guy is mining. So these are the miners who actually participate in the transaction, right? And the latency is, what is the latency for them to go and create the block? Yeah, they go and publish those blocks. So how do they do it? So basically they have to, every miner in the network, or I can say every node who is part of miner, they have to pick all the transactions. They have to verify all the transactions, but the person who does first and then announces in the network, and 51% of the people accept that block as the accepted block, that's where he get the incentives. So those are the ones we call as miners. In the network you can also have something called read-only nodes, right, in the public, or even in the Hyperledger Fabric world, or in the private network, you can have a data storage in the offline, or you can interface directly with your CouchDB if you're using CouchDB as a backend database for your Hyperledger Fabric, right? So that's how things will be from the mining side and the access the data perspective. That's the question on mining. Let me check, did I miss any other questions? Okay, that is done. That is done. Where the my data will be stored in case of IPFS or in a shared storage. So I always give an example. Let us say your friends are staying next to each other in a house, and both of them given their laptops as the data node storage for IPFS or file for Storj or Filecoin. You might be getting your document from your neighbor. You don't even know that. It can definitely happen. So it is completely segregated across all the nodes which are part of our IPFS cluster, right? And you can also set up your own IPFS cluster for your college. You can set up your IPFS server with multiple server nodes, and you can use it as your document storage. So basically, and again, it will distribute across the nodes available inside your IPFS. Yes, definitely your laptop also will be used for the storage when you are using for the IPFS. But if you are reading only from the IPFS, it will not use your laptop. But if you are part of the network, yes, it will use. It's same as I will always give the example. It's not a right example, a good example, but definitely as a technology I appreciate is the torrent. Right, the torrent as a technology is excellent technology, where when you download certain information from the torrent websites, you will also become a seeder, right? It will also take from your laptop, also upload it back again to the network, right? So that's a pure peer-to-peer technology, the torrent as a technology. On the other lines, the IPFS and other things also works on the same lines. Okay, so let's come to the next question. Why do we say that it cannot replace the database? If the database contains very sensitive data, then can we go this with this? See, it's not like look at the blockchain as always till when you want to use the blockchain. There are three important elements that it will provide to you: the decentralization, or at least decentralization to the participants of the network in case of a private world; immutability, so where the data is completely tamper-proof, secure, right? The public, it is available to all the participants. So if you have any use case with these three needs, you can definitely look at leveraging blockchain as a technology: transparent, decentralized, and the public shared distributed ledger. Okay, so then so can you please suggest some real-time projects on blockchain for UG students? Yeah, you can look at various use cases. It's not like you can take any existing. I will give you a good example. So take Uber, right? The Uber as a car provider, or Ola as a car rental provider, right? Or I can say ride provider. You can look at building that itself as a decentralized application. Look at that way. You build your own, let's say, blockchain Uber. So what it does is it will completely gives you the decentralized the ride service, and people can bid. It's not like you define the price, right? Sometimes you know that Ola or Uber, they charge 4 times of the cost or 2 times of the cost. But now you say that I'm as a rider, this is my cost. People can go and bid on a real-time basis. You can take any real-time example and then get that onto the blockchain and make them as a decentralized applications. Okay? So these are various use cases are available. You look at from the transport side, look at from your college asset management side. How do you bring asset management or asset usage information onto your blockchain? So the various use cases that you can look at from the building on the blockchain as a technology. This is a very good question. Can blockchain can be used for COVID-19 and other contact tracing? Yeah, definitely you can look at leveraging the blockchain as a technology, at least from the data storage perspective, right? The data should be secure and it cannot be shared. It can be shared only with the necessary participants if needed. We can look at that way. Good questions.
Yes, Sridhar sir, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your knowledge with us, sir.
Sure. Thanks. You're welcome.
Thank you. If you have any questions,
anyone has any questions after the session,